Hello my fellow readers, in this video I'm going to be reviewing Catch These Hands. This is a Girls Love series. I don't know if it's going to turn out to be full Yuri or if it's just light romance, but this is kind of a reunion series. I don't know that I'd call it a second chance romance because they were kind of, well, maybe for the one character it actually would be like second chance romance. That's interesting. Anyway, it involves it's like such a rambling way to put it, but it's essentially the story of a young woman who, you know, she's now out of high school. She was in like this gang group in the past, and they're kind of growing out of that and into adulthood. So a lot of her friends are getting married, some of them are having kids, and she feels very trapped in the past, or like she was trapped in the past and now she has to blossom and get out of that. So she wants to give herself a full makeover and find somebody to marry, get married, and be normal like all of her friends are becoming. So she goes to this clothing store to get a makeover, and she comes to discover that one of her previous rivals is the worker there. And then she's worried that her previous rival is going to make her look ridiculous or like make fun of her, and it's this whole thing. But as it turns out, I don't remember if she, well, she definitely doesn't realize it right away, but her former rival never really disliked her. In fact, it's more of the opposite. She always admired her and has kind of a thing for her. And she ends up, does she end up confessing? Anyway, she starts asking her out. And then they do like, I think her response is no. That she's looking to find someone and get married and live a normal life. So they sort of end up like dating, but as friends. So essentially, she's found herself a new friend. But of course, as these stories go, there's definitely feelings that are starting to develop. So I don't know, I'll do a quick, like, that is essentially the summary of at least these first two volumes. But I'll read the back of the first volume, just in case. So back in the day, Takebe was tough as nails delinquent who could throw hands with anyone, but right when she finally decides to leave her old ways behind, Takebe has a surprise reunion with her old rival, the Bloody Cardigan, Soramori, which is actually really funny too. So she called the Bloody Cardigan, but like there was kind of a misperception about what happened back then, but it doesn't matter. After all these years, she still wants a piece of Takebe, but not in the way you'd expected. Her proposal, if Soramori can beat Takebe in a fight, they have to start dating. So again, they do decide to start dating, even though really Takebe's overall goal was to get married and have a normal life, and that may still be, well, you know, it's not going to end up turning out to be her goal because she's gonna end up totally falling for Soramori. But at this point, in the back of her mind, she still has thoughts that she wants to be normal, but she's kind of putting up with this for now and still is viewing it kind of more as relationship developing, like almost like she needs to experience relationships and friendships, and that this will help her in order to achieve a proper relationship in the future. Like, does that make sense? Almost like an experimental thing. Like, if I learn how to do these things, it'll help me to achieve the other goal. Of course, what really is going to end up happening, because this is the way these go, is that she'll develop real feelings for Soramori and they'll end up together, probably having to have a conversation about that, like, you know, what that means for them and for the future, and how society will judge them. Like, I'm sure it'll be all of those things because if you've read a couple of stories, then you know how these things go. And I do think that Catch These Hands, I'm worried that the title's going to age poorly, if I'm being honest. But I do think that this is a fun series. It's one that I think, you know, there's a nice soft heart to the story that I think will appeal to people. It is kind of funny how, like, grumpy Takebe, like, always look, you know, like, she always has a very hard face. I can't really make that face, but she always has a very, like, serious look on her face. But she has this, like, inner world that isn't always reflected through that. And I think, too, we do see, like, other characters appear, so I don't know if, like, I don't know how long the series plans to be, because a lot of them are relatively short, but I don't know if it plans to bring in other characters and develop, like, further sphere of stories, because there were, like, a couple of characters that I was a little bit curious about their story. But Takebe does run into, like, some of her former gang members, and they do all kind of talk about, like, other stuff, and I don't know, it'd just be interesting. Also, I do wonder, like, what Takebe is going to do, because, like, right now I think she's still a part-timer and just doing, like, random work, because of course she didn't go on, I'm pretty sure she didn't go on to university, and I think that's part of her problem too, is that she feels like she has no drive and no goals. She was always so swept up in being part of the gang and with her gang or the gang leader that she never really thought about what adult life would be like. And so this is very much like a learning process for her, because not only does she not know what relationships are like, but she doesn't know what it means to have an adult life and mature and grow up. She was always so involved in other things that she just never gained that. So I don't know, it's interesting. I like the characters. I like the art's pretty good too. I like the art. It's not as overwhelmingly beautiful as what I'm usually drawn to, but that's probably why I borrowed it and didn't buy it. But it is cute. Like, it's decent looking art. It's very, like, I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. I was just wondering, I'm like, did I read something else by this author? But it reminds me of another series that I don't remember at this point. But it's just a very, well, I mean, you can see it. It's very basic, very basic manga style art. I don't know how to describe it. So not like overly beautified or stylistic. It's just basic. And I'm intrigued enough to see where it goes. See how they end up accepting their relationship and moving forward and all of that jazz. I think Volume 3 is out now. Who knows? They're probably, like, getting ready to release Volume 4. I'm always behind. Again, I borrowed my copies, but you can find them in stores. Available now. That is it for this video. Until next time.